Come here, buddy. Oof. Big boy. No hopping on the keyboard. Hey, get... Well, you messed up, O'Malley. Boy. Hi everybody, welcome to Dulcimerica. My name is Bing Futch and thank you very much for joining me. For the month of February, we are going to be looking at playing in the jam for all of our beginner, intermediate, and advanced level players, and then we'll do an episode for all skill levels. Jamming is one of the most fun things you can do at a Mountain Dulcimer Festival. Even if you're not taking workshops, it's neat just to get into a big circle with a bunch of other people and play some of the hot hits of the jamming circuit. Now, you don't have to be advanced to do this. You can certainly be a beginner, and that's a great place to learn tunes, to learn jam etiquette, and just to sort of throw yourself into it with a wild abandon. It is a lot of fun. There's strength in numbers, and the Mountain Dulcimer being sort of a quiet instrument means that even if you're in the middle of a group of people playing, they probably can't hear you anyway. So it's a perfect place to start learning all kinds of stuff to do. Now, today's instruction will be for beginner level, and this is to help you survive in the jam, give you an idea of what to expect and maybe how to best go about picking out tunes, learning new tunes, and playing tunes that you already know. So let's start off by looking at our fretboard here. I'm in DAD tuning, and that is probably the most popular tuning used in the Mountain Dulcimer world today. People ask all the time, can you be in DAA tuning and play along with people who are in DAD tuning? And the answer is absolutely. Yes, you can. As long as you're playing the same chords, same melodies, and you know where they exist on your fretboard, those two tunings can definitely live together. But for my demonstration today, we'll be looking at DAD tuning. So there are three things you want to keep in mind when you're playing in the jam. Number one is key. What is the key signature of the song that you're playing in? That's going to inform a lot of other things about what notes to play and what chords to play. So it's important to know each of the key signatures that you might be playing in and the particulars of those key signatures. Then it's really important to know the scale that goes along with that key signature. And why is it important? Because more than likely the song that you're playing is going to be using melody notes that come from that scale. So if you know where the scale is located, that sort of makes it easy for you to find where those notes might be located on your fretboard so that you can quickly figure out new tunes on the fly. Third is chords. For every key signature that we play, we have a scale, and for every scale that we play, there are 7 chords built out of the notes of the scale that we can play as well. Some chords are more popular than others, and I will show you the more popular chords so that you can kind of jump in if there's somebody helping you out with the chord changes, or you can kind of suss them out on your own. Let's go ahead and get started here in DAD tuning. We're going to assume that our first song is going to be in the key of D major. The key of D major has 2 sharps, F sharp and C sharp. So it's important first of all to know where all of your sharps are located on the Mountain Dulcimer, F sharp and C sharp. So I like to point this out. The 2nd fret in DAD tuning is full of sharps. We've got a C sharp on the middle string, and then we have F sharp on the bass and on the melody string. The 6.5 fret area here is also full of sharps. C sharp is on the bass string and on the melody string, while G sharp is on the middle string. Finally, we do have another sharp right here, and that is F sharp on the middle string. And I'm just covering what is in the first octave because that's what most people are playing in, is from the open to the 7th fret. So just remember that 2nd fret, the 6.5 fret, all of those are sharp all the way across the strings, and then we have one sharp, F sharp, on the middle string at the 5th fret. So that'll help you when we move on to our next area here, which is scale. So when we're talking about the key of D major, we're thinking about the D major scale, and the melody largely is going to come from that scale. So knowing where the scale lives on your fretboard is a great way to start getting familiar with the territory. So we can do a D major scale up the melody string. Be aware of the fact that I do have a 1.5 fret. So if you're counting by frets and you don't have that fret, just make sure that you pretend it does not exist, kind of like that. So our D major scale from open position is going to go open, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.5, and 7, the octave of where we began. Those notes are D, E, F sharp, G, cat hair, A, B, C sharp, and then D, the octave. Take notice of where your sharps are located. D, E, F sharp, there's that second fret. G, A, B, C sharp, there is our 6.5 fret, and then D. Same thing applies to the bass string since it's tuned the same. You can also play the D major scale in what's called a box. That means that the format of the frets and the number of them kind of create this little pattern. We can do that on bass string open 1, 2, 3. And then do the exact same moves, same frets on the middle string. Open 1, 2, 3. So there we have a D major scale in a box, and you can kind of see the box. It's shaped kind of long. It comes across here, and everything inside that basically is the D major scale. There are the 8 notes of D major, and then you've got these other 4 notes here. That would start the scale over again, but know that everything that we're playing in the first 3 fret range there is all part of D major. So think about that as the D zone. If we're playing D major chord, anything that we play over the top of that chord in those first 3 fret ranges there, that is going to work. They're going to work together very, very nicely. So if you're looking for the melody, look in the D zone, right there, open through the 3rd fret. So now that we know where our scales are located, up the strings, and just we're talking D major at this point, across the strings, now we can look at doing some other stuff, like playing chords. So most songs that we will end up playing in the jam are what are known as 1-4-5 tunes. There are 1-4-5 chord progressions. Those are chords built off the 1st, 4th, and 5th notes of the scale. So if we're playing in D major, 1 is going to be D, so a D major chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is going to be G. D, E, F sharp, G. So G major is going to be our 4 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. D, E, F sharp, G, A. A is going to be A major, and that is going to be our 5 chord. You can do hundreds and thousands of songs in the jam just playing those 3 chords. So if you learn where your Ds, Gs, and As are located, you can always play along with the tune, even if you don't know what the melody is doing. Some good examples of D major would be 2-0-0, 0-0-2, 2-3-4 slant, 4-3-2 slant, 4-5-7, extended slant, 7-5-4, extended slant. You can go all the way up here and do an L shape, 7-7-9, as well as a 9-7-7. So there we've got a bunch of different versions of D major to work with. Now let's look at the G major chord. 3-1-0 would give us an extended slant. 0-1-3. L shape 3-3-5. 5-3-3, 5-6-7 slant, 7-6-5. Those are all iterations of G major. And now we do our A major chords. We can do 101. We can do 1-2-4, extended slant, 4-2-1, 4-4-6.5 L shape, 6.5-4-4, 6.5-7-8 slant, and 8-7-6.5. There you have 3 chords, very, very popular chords. We're going to run into those over and over again playing these fiddle tunes. There is one minor chord that is more consistent with showing up than others. That's B minor. That's built off the 6th note of the scale, which is B. So here's some B minor tunes. If a B minor chord comes in, you'll know it right away. It sounds a little dark. 2-1-0, 0-1-2, 2-3-5, 5-3-2, 5-5-7, 7-5-5. And those are all B minor chords there. So you're going to run into those 1-4-5 chords, D, G, and A lot when playing in the key of D major. And you're also going to run into a lot of B minor chords. And other minor chords and other chords from the scale are going to come into play, but as a beginner, those are the ones, if you focus on, that will help you get through the jam and you can just kind of play along. Now that we know what we've got to be aware of, our key signature, key of D in this case, our scale, the D major scale, F sharp and C sharp, got 2 sharps in there, and our chords, primarily your 1-4-5 and your 6 chord, D, G, A, and B minor. With that, we can play all kinds of stuff. So when you're in the jam, basically, if it's a real great run jam or lead jam, the jam leader will announce what the tune is. Let's say it's Old Joe Clark. And then that jam leader might have additional information. So if you're looking to find out what the chords are, you can always say, hey, what are the chords? Then they may say, oh, D, G, A, or D and A, and that's it. Or they may say 1-4-5, at which point you could, if you don't know or don't remember, say, can you explain that to me in layman's terms? And find out what the chords are. Other jam leaders are really good about giving you the chord progressions as you're playing through. And they'll use everything from signs to chord hats, I'm looking at you, Jim Miller, all kinds of different things, or just simply calling out the chords. D, dog, A, alpha, G, grebo, I don't know. In any case, they'll call them out and then all you have to do is find that chord and play it. So you're going to find a lot of assistance in the big jams and also in what we call turtle jams that are slower and they're more for beginners, and so the tunes aren't going really intensely, and the leaders there are really, really good about making sure that you know what you're doing and helping you out with melody and chords and things like that. But if you're in the larger jam, a lot of times people are calling those chords out. So let me go ahead and play a little bit here and give you some examples of what you can do just in case you aren't picking up the tune. I'm going to use Black Mountain Rag here for an example. One of the great, great jam tunes of all time. So I'll start bouncing around here. Now you'll notice I'm not playing any chords there, I'm just playing the melody along with the drum. And that's perfectly fine, that's what many people do when they are in the jam. They're just focusing on melody. Now if you know Black Mountain Rag, you can play along with the melody and not worry about changing chords. If you don't know Black Mountain Rag, well, a couple of things you can do. First of all is, If you're new to the jam, don't be shy. Make sure you get up in one of the chairs and not way in the back. What you want to be able to do is see other people's hands, see their faces, and get a clear view of everybody around there, because you'll be getting lots of hints from these people about chord changes and melody and things like that. I always recommend getting next to a fiddle player or another instrument that is playing, really focusing on the individual melody notes as opposed to playing chords and rhythm. That way you'll be able to hear the melody a lot clearer. Don't worry if you don't get it the first time around. The tunes tend to repeat over and over again, so that gives you second, third, fourth chances to find out what the melody is. Remember your zones. Remember the D zone here. Let me show you the G zone. For G major, we've got a G major scale. It starts at the 3rd fret, goes to the 6th fret. So there's our box. And then we do the exact same 3, 4, 5, 6 on the middle string. So the key of G major has 1 sharp, that's F sharp. So we use C natural as opposed to C sharp. So the G zone lives between the 3rd and the 6th frets. Whenever a G chord is played, you can really be safe in playing inside that area, as well as the D zone. But remember that when we're playing a G major chord, we want to use typically the G major scale, or at least the notes of the D major scale that also exist in G major. I don't want to get too deep into that right now. I want to give you just the basics for surviving the jam. But know that that's the G zone in between the 3rd and the 6th frets. And then we've got the A zone, and the A zone is between the 4th and the 7th frets, and we don't use the 6th fret because all the notes there are natural. We have C natural on the bass and melody string, we have G natural on the middle. And when we're thinking about A major, we're thinking about 3 sharps in that key: F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. So all 3 of those notes are sharp. So we don't want the 6th fret because that's going to have C natural and G natural. We want the 6.5 fret because it's got G sharp and C sharp on the bass and on the melody string. So there is our 4 through 7. That's our A zone right there. An easy place to look to find your scales. And your scale notes will be part of your melody as well. But all of our melody is coming out of the D major scale. Usually. Sometimes there are borrowed notes that come out of other keys, and you'll know when that happens. So let's say the song has gone around a few more times and you're not exactly sure still where all of those notes are located. Remember your D major scale running up the melody string. And now look at what notes we're actually playing in Black Mountain Rag. Notice that every single one of those notes is actually in the D major scale that we played earlier as we walked up. You can do the exact same thing going across the strings. So between knowing what the scales are and knowing what the chords are, you should be able to dial in. And instead of hunting all over the fretboard looking for the melody, you can pretty much find it in those zones using those scales and using those areas, those chord areas as well. And the more you hear it, you can kind of guess. When you hear the first note, maybe you'll start with just that. So as you know that that part is coming back around again, lean down close to your dulcimer and pick at the notes of the D major scale until you find the one that sounds like the first note of Black Mountain Rag. Now this becomes like a game of concentration. That's the note, that's the start of the note right there. That's the start of the melody right there. It's the 2nd fret, we put that away, we store it. Now we're listening for what happens after that. So we're going to go up to the next 2 notes up here, A and B. If you can hear that those notes are actually higher sounding in pitch, this, going from here to here, is going upwards. going from here to here is going down in pitch. So what we're looking for and what we're listening for is which direction do the notes travel? Do they go up or do they go down? If they go up, you want to move this way up the fretboard because that's where the notes go higher. It's like you're walking up a flight of stairs, right? If the notes are going down, then you want to make sure that we're going up the fretboard because that's where the notes are actually traveling down. It can be confusing when we say up and down the fretboard. If we're going this way, the notes are going up. And if we're going this way, the notes are going down. Once you figure out which direction they're going, that gives you an idea from your starting note which way to go to catch the rest of those notes. All right. Another way to do this is, let's say that it's kind of noisy. You got a lot of different people doing a lot of different things and you really can't hear clearly what the notes are. Another way of doing this is to look at the other mountain dulcimer players around you, the ones that appear to know the tune. Watch their fingers and where their fingers are at on the fretboard. That'll give you a really good idea of where the melody is. If you see them hanging out just on the melody string, then you know that they're doing pretty much the same thing that you're doing, which is playing the melody against the drone. So that's a good indication. If you see their fingers down here, put your finger there and try and match what they're doing while also listening to what you're playing, and you'll see, probably, that everything will begin to match up. You can do this from across the room in a noisy jam. You have to reverse it. The nice thing about having dulcimer players to either side of you is you can see the fretboard much the same as you're looking at your own. But if you're looking across the way, obviously the mountain dulcimer fretboard is going to be flipped around. But you can still look and go, okay, they're heading down towards this area. That's where I should be looking for what I'm doing. Oh, now they're playing up here. I should do that. 9 times out of 10, that's what they're doing. Sometimes you might be trying to follow somebody who's doing something simple, and what they're really doing is playing harmony or counter melody or being inventive, and you might find that you're nowhere near where you need to be. But that's cool because you'll still find a way to make it work. So you can eyeball it, looking at somebody else, or you can just kind of listen to what's being played and then see if you can find it. A lot of jams will keep a song going for a very long time in order to make sure that everybody's on board and understands the tune. Some jams can be really brief with a tune, like play it 3 times and then done. There's nothing wrong with raising your hand afterwards and saying, can we play that a couple more times? I've almost got it. Different jams have different protocols, but generally speaking, if you really want to learn the tune, somebody will make sure that you understand where the melody is and show it to you, either during the jam, or they can record it for you, send you home with it, or after the jam. So, once again, we are looking at our key signatures, we're looking at our scales, we're looking at our chords, and we're playing mostly D-A-D, key of D. Now sometimes we will play in the key of G, and sometimes we will play in the key of A as well. What we'll do is we're going to leave it here for now for the beginner level students. I think that's a lot to get you guys started playing in the jam. And then, for next week, intermediate, we'll begin talking about playing in other keys, using the capo to quickly move from that place to that place, and also getting a little deeper into finding out what the 1, 4, 5, and 6 chords are in the keys of G and A, so that you're better prepared when that banjo or fiddle player walks in and calls a tune in something other than the key of D. Thank you everybody for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this. We'll see you next week, and you can actually look back a little bit here on Dulcimerica using the Dulcimerica episode guide and find my tutorial on Black Mountain Rag. Trust me, it's one of those, what do they call it? It's an old chestnut for sure, but it's a driller, as Ken Kalodner likes to say, and I like to say it's an all-nighter. It's a tune you can simply play all night long, and you know what? I'm going to go out and just simply play it so you don't have to go looking for the tutorial. Thanks again, everybody. We'll see you next time.